All right. Here we are. Okay, guys. I'm going to make sure that I am actually on my public setting today.
Yeah, I'm waiting for it to come on page. It's not showing as live as yet.
If you guys see me, please let me know. Okay. I think we are. Do you see it on your page? All right, awesome. So we are live and we have viewers and guests. Welcome, everybody. And I already shared who is our speaker here. The beautiful, the only, Sherian is with us. I'm going to read about her and then we'll dive into the topic. Sherian Waite is passionate about caring for the elderly population. She is the founder and the CEO of, now hold on for that part, Renewed Mental Health, Renewed Healthcare Staffing, Atlanta Family Hospice, and Atlanta Palliative Care. And she is also the founder of the Yuri Waite Foundation. Sherian is also a community educator with the Alzheimer Association, and she's a public speaker on geriatric mental health. She's passionate about building legacy, breaking generational curse, and establishing generational blessings. Sherian serves as a leader in the field of successful aging and geriatric mental health. She holds a master's degree in social work and master's degree in gerontology from Loma Linda University. And she's currently completing her doctorate in social work with an emphasis on medical social work. She is dedicated to her work with the elderly population and especially those dealing with Alzheimer's disease. Sharon is dedicated about building legacy, breaking generational curses, and establishing generational blessings. And she likes to say that the most effective way to replicate her passion is to teach. She is affectionately called the narrative therapist, and as she teaches and models being intentional and writing the story of your life. So, and that's why she's here. We're going to talk narratives today. So, welcome, welcome, Sherry, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, it is my pleasure. I'm excited to talk to you, to learn from you, actually, because all of the guests that I bring on, although I know a bit about the topic, and it's something of interest to me, and I know about the guests, but I want to learn more. And so we invite you on and we share with everybody. So um, let's get into it. I want to know more, first, how did you even get into this area? Because there's social work, and then there's care for the elderly, and then hospice, and all those different things. It's a very involved and very targeted niche. So how did you get into that?
Very good question. And what I like about the way you worded the question is that you're able to align everything to something that's very specific. I know that there have been times when I've been introduced and I can tell that they are confused by everything because it seems so vast and so much comes to one thing, and that is geriatric care. And how did I get to this point? Very personal for me. I was actually on the journey to law school. I thought I wanted to be a lawyer. And then my father got diagnosed with early dementia. And as he continued to walk through the disease trajectory, I had a curiosity about the disease. I wanted to know everything there was to know about Alzheimer's because in my mind, I was going to find the cure and I was going to heal my father. That led me to the caregiver experience. A lot of us in the medical field, we have the vision from the provider, not from the family. Going through that journey and having the family experience really showed me how devastating that journey is, and the need for resources. So my passion for not just my father, but for people wanting to create resources that others might have what I didn't have when I was going through that journey has led me here.
Nice. Okay. So, and one thing I have noticed, that people that have this personal reason, the reason why they get involved in something, in a cause, or going to a certain field, when it's so personal and so dear to them, the success is so much greater, because you're not in it just for the name, the recognition, or the money, or whatever. It's really something that you care deeply about, and that really makes a difference. And so now I can see why you're you seem like you're on a mission, and you are on a mission. And so that's beautiful. That's beautiful. So you went, you changed your trajectory from law to social work to gerontology and to Alzheimer's disease, specifically. And then somehow through all of that, then you learn more about the mind.
Absolutely.
So, and then you become the narrative therapist. So tell us, tell us what is the mind? What are our thoughts? Because we always thought when we learn, this conventional learning, we talk about the brain and what the brain does, but there's an extra layer, it seems, the mind. Tell us more about that. What is it?
So it's interesting, and I don't know if there is one way to define the mind or to say what it is, because it's just such a vast thing. Narrative therapy for me is the innate or the natural therapeutic intervention or approach for the geriatric population, and that aligns with where they are developmentally. There is a need, an innate need as we get older for our very existence to be validated. And as we know, when we're visiting our grandparents, they're always telling stories. So as a therapist, looking at that population, for me, it was just automatic. I want to get in there. I want to hear their stories. I want to help them to identify themes, different people that played important role. And I love words, and I need to be able to see what I'm doing. So in my mind, I thought, I want to help them to rewrite the last chapter of their lives. I want to help them to write the grand finale. So look at all those underlying messages that were given to them from the womb to 7 years, and how that impacted their lives, and again help them to make their grand exit having no regret, but having attained what Erik Erikson ascribes to as the successful resolution of that developmental change.
Right.
What grabbed my attention with that was in self-reflection, and I do believe that the greatest depiction of learning is applied knowledge to personal life. So how am I applying the things that I'm learning to the life that I'm living? No, I'm not in my final chapter. I'm nowhere close. But then that pulled me to, all right, if we can do that with the geriatric population, what does the research or the current literature say on the ability for us to recreate our lives as we are going through it?
Right.
That led me to the power of thought.
Yeah.
That led me to the amazing discovery of the subconscious mind and the conscious mind, how those two differ, how they're alike, how they're similar, and the impact that those two entities have on the lives that we live.
Yeah. Well, let's unpack that, because that's exactly my question was going to be. Well, if it works for the geriatric population, then can we work on it now? Because that would help us then, building throughout our lives the narrative, and then you don't have to summarize it so much at the end, because you've been ingrained, you've what's the word I'm looking for, into it, from now on. So that's really, really interesting. So just tell us more about the thought, or maybe an exercise, or things that you do to unpack, the thought and the thought patterns that we have.
Excellent. So I'm very transparent. I believe that one of the greatest tools that we have in any space is authenticity and transparency. I believe that if we do really want to make an impact in the lives of people, we have to get to a place where our own experience becomes that changing tool. So I'm always willing to share my story. And for those who are close to me, and when I say that, I only think of one person, and that's my sister. She's my best friend now, my sister Sydney, will tell you that my life was almost oxymoronic, totally contradictory. On one side, I am the epitome of success as the world would define success. A business is doing great. Sydney always tells me, Sherian, when it comes to work, business, money, you attract that stuff so easily. So everything on this side is, as the world would describe it, perfect, thriving, growing. If I say I'm going to do it, it's done. Everything on the personal side was all chaos. 38, 2 divorce, 2 children. Just seems I could not get it right when it comes to matters of the heart. And that was for me, very confusing, because I'm actually an all heart person. Whatever I do, I'm in it fully. That led me to, I need to understand the narrative through which I'm living my life and relationships. That led me to therapy, because I needed to understand what happened from the womb to the age of 7 that has so implanted in me a narrative that is playing out in my life. Because whether or not we are conscious, aware, we admit it, we are all living out narratives that we have adapted. That led me to, I remember one of the most life-changing moments in therapy. My therapist asked me, when you look at yourself as a child, what do you see? And that answer was so easy for me to give, because I've always seen myself as a child on an island by myself. I'm in a white dress, I'm crying, I'm dirty, and there's a tornado all around me. And I'm searching for my parents, and they are nowhere to be found, and I'm completely alone. I realized that I was living my life through a narrative of, I'm not enough, no one loves me, I have to do and give and go to the extreme in pursuit of love. It did not, reality did not match with that picture. It didn't matter what the world was seeing. That is what I was seeing. That was the wiring of my subconscious mind. And it's important for us to know that the subconscious mind is programming, while the conscious mind is creative. We are living out what we have been programmed to believe. Whatever we believe on a subconscious level, the conscious mind goes to work to create it. So that's what happens when we think about perspective. So if I'm unlovable, I'm going to find relationships that confirm that I'm unlovable. I'm going to choose people who treat me like I'm unlovable. So in essence, the conscious mind goes in research, it goes in search of evidence to further confirm and strengthen the subconscious. So again, for me, it was that journey to, all right, I need to really understand who I am. And from that knowledge, then I need to work on changing it. And that is the amazing thing about this. And if we want to get extremely technical and scientific, then we're going down the path of neuroplasticity. But even before we go there, my passion with this is, there's so many of us, all of us, unless you again have done the work of self-discovery, we are living on autopilot from the things that have been given to us from the womb to age 7. We all know by now those 7 years, are very important, imperative. That's when the character is formed. Give us a child from birth to 7, and we can tell you who you're going to have for the rest of their existence. But it is an amazing discovery to truly step into an awareness that we do not have to live our lives as victim to our biology or our genesis or our family of origin, or even the original influences of our subconscious, but that the power to rewire is within us.
Nice. So you said so many good things in there. So first, though, I do want to ask you, going back to the therapy and your picture of yourself in the white dress, how did you come to this? Is it during the therapy that you saw yourself, or is it something that you, it's like an image of yourself that you always has had, that you know you had? Or is it during the therapy session that you actually pictured that? Because that was interesting to me when you said, how do I see myself? I'm like, I'm thinking, I'm just the nice little girl. And then, but you had a whole movie there, and I was like, wait, hold on, I need to rethink my. So how do you even get to that?
You're asking some very deep personal questions.
Okay, but you can share.
That's okay. I was about to say,
how can people get to where they have a picture, a clear vision, I guess, of how they see themselves from that time period of their lives?
That is such an important and an intricate question. I do believe that to have that full image, picture of who you are, you have to have a desire to truly know who you are. A desire to truly know yourself either comes from extreme enlightening or extreme pain. So unless you've encountered an experience that pushes you into a space of enlightenment, or pushes you into a space of overwhelming pain, you will live your life completely oblivious to who you really are. And many people live their lives never knowing. That's the tragedy of life, that so many great people, phenomenal people, will never come to an awareness of who they really are, because they're content with who others tell them that they are.
You have to have that triggering. It's kind of like you have to have a triggering event, something that happens that sits you down, makes you think, and then going deep in there. Yeah.
And for me, it was my second failed marriage. Was very tumultuous relationship, and it was so different. It was, if you had asked me at the age of 5 or 6 or 7, or even 18, 19, 20, I could have never in a million years pictured myself divorced once. I was going to be the Proverbs 31 woman. That literally, I was going to make sure I was equipped with the tools to go out there and make a life, and make a great life, because I was going to be the coverage for my husband. I was going to cover his integrity, his legacy. He was going to raise up and call me blessed, and my children would do the same. And I was so literal. I learned to sew, crochet, cook, and do all those things. So when the perfect image that I had of myself unfolded, not once, but twice, I then had to sit with myself. I had no choice but to sit with myself and truly get to know myself.
Yeah. I understand that. Yeah. I think it happens for us for different aspects of our lives. For you, it was the personal, the marriage, but you're saying that, and I think when we grew up a certain way, we have those expectations, we think if we do this, then this is going to happen. But there is the whole aspect, like you said, of the narrative that we have, and some kind of hurt or tension of anxiety or different things that, you being on this island by yourself, the fear of being alone, but also feeling that you are alone, even if you're surrounded with people. And so even as you have people around you, even as you have love, but you are also attracting people who are not necessarily the right, you know, the right kind, or don't, I don't even know how to explain all that. But it's very interesting, because that shows us the power of our thoughts, and how what we think attracts certain things to us, and how we think also shapes everything about our lives. So it's helping you, it's fueling you in the professional aspect, right? But then at the same time, it is hindering you on the other side. So now you have to find a balance. So is that how it works? Is it balance, or just completely changing everything, changing the narrative, as you say?
A very good question, and it's neither. Um,
Okay.
we become what we think,
Yes.
literally.
Mm.
And it's so simple, yet it's so difficult for a lot of people to grasp. We become what we think. Our thoughts create our reality.
Mm-hmm.
There was never a point in my life, not as an adult, not as a child, I never ever questioned whether or not I would be successful, ever. And
Okay.
my definition of success was always different. And it was always for a different reason. People think that you have money and then you're successful. No, success is the intentional pursuit of a mission.
Yeah.
So if
Okay.
your mission is to be a homemaker and you are the best homemaker that there is, you are successful. Whatever your intentional goal is that you achieve, that is success. So money comes after success, not the other way around. So I never doubted that I was going to be successful. I was always going to make a difference. I was always going to help people. I was always going to have territory and influence. I never questioned that.
Nice. Okay.
That thought, that narrative, because my subconscious mind had been programmed by me through habitual decisions and actions and reaffirmations and confirmation, my subconscious mind had no choice but to create a reality of success.
Yeah.
It's as
Right.
simple as that. To the same extent and with the same intensity of emotions and conviction, I never thought I was lovable. I never thought that I would not be alone. I felt it was me against the world. I I could have been in a room with a million. I still felt alone. I had a sister. She passed when I was 15, and she was special needs. So if anyone ever lived in a home where there's a special need child,
Yeah.
you know
The attention is. Yeah.
absolutely where one becomes the caregiver, and that one is typically the invisible one. I lived my life feeling invisible. It didn't matter what others saw. I knew, I thought, I programmed my subconscious mind to think I would be alone. So until I rewired my mind, neuroplasticity, until I reprogrammed the subconscious mind, I was going to keep creating that reality. And that's all that happened. And that's how simple this whole phenomenon is you become
Yeah.
what
What you think? Yeah. Yeah. So first step, bringing the subconscious pretty much to light, bringing
correct.
the subconscious to the conscious. And then we talk about that big word, neuroplasticity. So tell us what that is. And so how do we go from, now we have our thought, we know, or we had that picture of our, from our childhood, from up to 7 years old. How did we feel? How did we view ourselves? And now we have to, I guess, heal or transform that thing. And so we get into neuroplasticity. Tell us what that is.
Very good. And to make it very simple, so many years ago, neurologists, neuroscientists, everyone thought that the brain was fixed. Once you pass 7, nothing could be done. It's like a hard piece of concrete. That's it. Luckily for us, research has shown that it couldn't be farther from the truth. So it's just, let's break the word apart. Neuro, the brain, plasticity, flexibility, ability to change, rewire. That's all it is. It's a big fancy word to say that our brains are pliable, that we can rewire the way we think. And we might wonder, well, why is that important? That is important because our subconscious thoughts and our subconscious mind governs our lives 90%. And the research there between 90 and 95%. But 90 to 95% of every day, you are being led by your subconscious mind. So it is, again, if subconsciously you have accepted the narrative that you are a victim, that you are not liked, you're not loved, you're not understood, regardless of how someone approaches you and what they're saying, that's how you are going to receive it, because that's the lens through which you're viewing the world. So again, it's understanding. And the sad thing about it is most of us are living our lives from what has been imprinted on our subconscious minds from birth to 7 years and throughout. And if you are in conflict with yourself, then it is a direct indicator that you're living a life contradictory of who you are and who you can become. So the first task is you have to get real with who you are. One of the main contradictions I had with myself was this. I'm Jamaican. I'm from a tough culture. We're not supposed to even use the word needs. To say I have needs, it's, what is that? That is shunned. You're not supposed to be, whiny or clingy, or, those things are viewed as signs of weakness. You're supposed to be this strong, put together. I don't need a man. I can be a farmer. I can be and do all this. I realized at a very young age that image was in conflict with who I am. I am the most needy person there is. And for me to say this on this platform is healing. Because again, it's not healing in the space. It's evidence of healing and work that I've had to do on myself.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And I embrace it. Listen, I will cry at the drop of a dime. If I love you, you are going to know. I'm the hold your hand as we walk through the park. I'm all that and so much more. And nothing is more freeing and empowering than accepting who you are. And you cannot accept what you do not know. So go through the painful process. It's painful. Go through the painful process of getting to know yourself. Acknowledge first and confront the messages that have programmed your subconscious mind. Mm-hmm. And when you acknowledge them, realize that you have the power to change them. Take accountability, radical accountability. No one does anything to you. No one make you feel you are responsible for everything that happens in your life, everything. When you get to that point, you will experience freedom, success, happiness, and everything that comes from a rewired subconscious mind that then feeds into your conscious mind, that goes into the universe, the world, and creates a reality that affirm and confirm that space.
Wow, that is so true. And I see we have people watching. If you have questions or comments, don't be shy. Go ahead and ask your questions. We're here to learn together and share together. And I want to thank you for really making this personal, and because sometimes we talk about things in theory. But really sharing your own account, your whole own experience is really helping us to really put the things in perspective and seeing how it can be done. That was my question. The question I had was, so we talk about the getting to know ourselves, and then also then choosing choosing how we're going to respond to things. But that comes from first knowing ourselves. But there is also, I guess, paying attention to how we respond to things currently can also help us, to dissect a little bit what is going on with us, because the response is our choice. But sometimes, most of the time, since we don't know about the thought, or we haven't done the work, we don't even realize that the response itself is a choice, and that the response is based on, again, the subconscious. So help us to see, what are some external things that can help us, or kind of give us some light bulbs and ding ding ding. There may be some things going on with your thought pattern here.
Very good question. And I'll give you an example. This week I was around a group of my staff, and they were all females. And when females get together, somehow the conversations always go to relationship. But here was one of my staff, and she walked in the room, and her eyes were red. You could tell she was crying, and she was so upset. And I could hear them talking, and I was multitasking. But I could tell from what she was saying, I'm like, okay, that story doesn't make sense. So then I looked up and I said to her, because she was so mad that, her husband had said all these hurtful things to her, and he's just a horrible person, and she's going to be so upset when she gets home, and she's not going to talk to him. So I said to her, all right, so I hear a little of what you're saying. Your husband said some very mean things to you. I said, was there any truth in anything that he said? Whole room went silent. Right. And she, well, what do you mean? I said, I mean simply what I asked. Was there any truth to what he said? Yeah. Well, yes, but he didn't have to stop. I said, so let's pause right there. So my question was there any truth? And you said yes. Let me ask another question. Was it all true, what he said? Yes. And I said, so let's stop right there. So I said, if he said something to you that was the truth, why are you so upset? Well, he didn't have to, And she kept going. I realized she's approaching this situation from a narrative of I'm a victim. Right. Because it didn't matter what the fact that what he said was true. And then this is a snowball effect of the way we think. And then I asked her, do you love your husband? Yes. Are you going to get a divorce? No. So then who is going to benefit from this argument that you're having? Who's going to benefit? You're going to go home. You're planning to sleep in a different room. I'm like, we're in a pandemic. You're out here every day. Do you know if you're COVID positive? Well, no. Okay, let me go around the room because we're in a room. Are you COVID positive? Everyone. We don't know. So how do you know you're going to be alive tomorrow? So if your husband dies tonight, how are you going to feel? And these are extremes, but this is life. But here you are, so angry on a skewed narrative because your husband said something that was true, but because you're operating from a narrative of I'm a victim, you don't even see the opportunity for increased intimacy through vulnerability. Instead, you are offended. So I said, let's do this. Try something different. Text your husband and say, you were right. Let's talk about it later. He did. He responded. You say this all the time and nothing changes. Oh my word. She just went off. He is horrible. Okay, pause. Was this the first time you apologized for this situation? Right. Okay. Have you guys had this argument before? Yes. So you've done this before? Yes. So is your husband? No, he's not. And we had to go through the same thing. So I said, no, again, send your husband a message. Yes, you are right. I need help. Again, it's the narrative and how it plays out in our lives. And the sad thing is, you would think that we would be able to see these things and acknowledge it. But this is the tragedy also of a programmed subconscious mind. You need honest, loving people in your circle. who are able to see when you are blind.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is difficult for you to really see yourself.
Right.
Because not only is the subconscious mind effective in guiding the way we live, it is also very effective in blinding us from who we are.
Yes.
So yes, the actions are there, and you might be able to see the defect and the flaws in what I'm doing. But the same mindset that causes me to act this way is the same mindset that tells me that what I'm doing is okay.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's so true. That's so true. So, yeah, you do need, there's some guidance that is needed to point things out to you. And I like the example that you gave about the coworker, because sometimes again we put so much our interpretation of what is said, what is going on, of the event, of the conversation, and but when you stick to the facts, you realize, like you said, is what he's saying, is it true? If it's true, then that's it. There shouldn't, you don't need to have all of this reaction and all those different things about it. Is it true? And if it's not true, it's not true. It goes both ways. And then, but also one thing that we do, like we said, she being a victim, one thing that we do is somebody might say something or do something, and there is the truth to it, but then we attach all of this other meaning and narrative to it. So if they say, if one thing happened, then again, so now I'm unlovable. Now I'm not able to. I'm not enough. He doesn't like this, or he doesn't love me. Nobody said they don't love you. They just said you keep saying the same thing. It's not I don't love you, but we attach a certain meaning, again, based on our subconscious narrative. We attach a certain meaning to everything that's going on around us. Before we go, Tishoy said, who was watching, she said, "Thank you for the transparency." So it is definitely helpful. So how do we? Let's talk a little bit about that neuroplasticity and how do we change our thoughts? How do we identify a thought? How do we change our thought? What can we do on our own? I know that, of course, we can do different therapies, different exercises. If you are at home, what can you do? If you are even afraid to just, jump, is there something that you can start doing?
Absolutely. The mind has no sense of humor.
Hmm.
Our subconscious mind has absolutely no sense of humor. What I mean by that is we have to be conscious of our self-talk.
Mhm.
Again, it's defense mechanism. Sometimes, I hear people and the things they say about themselves that they think is funny. Oh, I'm so fat. Oh, I'm so this, I'm so that. And the subconscious mind has no sense of humor. The subconscious mind is not sarcastic. The subconscious mind it doesn't read between lines. It is what it hears is what it creates.
Yeah, if you said it, it is so.
Absolutely. So again, understanding the power of our words.
Mm-hmm.
I go back to make it spiritual.
Yeah.
I go back to the creation story. The Lord could have created the world 1,000,001 ways. He could have sat down and he could have gotten some clay and molded and be very tactile in creation. He didn't. What did he do? He spoke things into being.
Right.
And that is the same thing with us and our lives. Every time you open your mouth, you're creating your reality.
Right.
So what can we do at home? We need to get to a space where we understand the power of words, the power of words on ourselves, first of all. Because we love to, thou shalt love your neighbor, love everyone. Okay.
As yourself.
Yes. There's a catch to it.
Yes.
Love your neighbor as you love yourself.
Yes.
So that's why there's so little love in the world, because so very few of us love ourselves. And again, I go back to knowledge. You cannot love what you do not know. So you cannot truly love yourself until you get to know yourself. So again, be very intentional with what you say about you to you.
That's so true.
Well, am I going to sit and talk to myself? Absolutely. I remember when I was going through therapy, I had affirmations that I wrote out, and I would, the subconscious mind is awakened twice only. 2 times. It's awakened right before we go to sleep. And that's because, you close your eyes, there's no light hitting the back of your eyeballs. So again, the brain is shutting down, the subconscious mind is open then.
Yeah.
And first thing in the morning, the subconscious mind is open again. Those are pivotal times, important times to feed yourself with positivity. What do you go to bed thinking about you?
Yes.
What do you wake up thinking about you? Because believe it or not, you create your day. You wake up and, I'm not a morning person. I wake up, well, if you're not a morning person, you're not an all-day person, period.
I can attest to that. I can attest to that. I used to, and it's only recently that I stopped saying that, because I was like, oh man, I have to wake up. I don't do well in the morning. 10 o'clock is my thing. But then I started doing this 5 a.m. Thinking, reading, and it was hard. But now, waking up now, saying, I'm so grateful for today. I'm so grateful for today. I'm happy I was able to, and I'm looking forward to reading. Just saying that, I'm actually getting out of bed, like, okay, let me get ready. But before it was like dragging, oh man. So I can attest to that.
You have transformed. I think
I have.
Yes. Guys, in the first 2 weeks when she started this, her head had a scarf on. You could tell you just rolled out of bed. You were not feeling it. Now you are, ready for the day. And we're going to talk about, has this been, I think, six or 7 weeks?
70 days today.
That repetition.
Yeah.
Practicing of everything. And again, it's funny because as a society, we know bits and pieces of this thing. Because you'll hear people talk about it takes 6 weeks for things to become habit, etc. Right. But we don't know how to put it all together. So again, it's that affirmation. Start affirming yourself. Write it down. I am enough. When I was doing this, I had it posted in my bathroom. Oh, I am enough. I am lovable and I'm worthy of love. I am beautiful. I am deserving of good things. I am a good person. Write those things down, whatever comes to you. And when you start writing your affirmation, you will also begin to see you. Be by yourself, be authentic with you, and you will be amazed the things you write. The things you write will tell you the areas that you feel most unfulfilled. It will tell you the areas that you have greatest need. So again, affirmation. When you wake up in the morning, before you get out of bed, affirm yourself. That attitude of gratitude. It's, we say you will find what you're looking for. It's true. And it's the same thing in relationships. If more spouses would be intentional about affirming each other every day that I get up, I'm going to tell you 2 things that I appreciate about you. And it's going to be different every day. That puts you in a mindset where you are now looking
exactly
positive things.
Yeah.
Your spouse. And guess what you're going to find? Positive things in each other. So talk about extending the honeymoon period. That's how it's done. And the opposite is true. The minute you start focusing on the negative things in your spouse, guess what you're going to see?
All the negative. Everything annoys you, right?
Snowball effect, because in no time, Intimacy is going to be ruined.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to wonder, how did I ever marry this person? But you take those same people and
Right.
change the focus and the mindset, and you get the completely opposite results. So mind your thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Positive thoughts about yourself, write positive things about yourself, and be intentional
Mm-hmm.
about the people that you choose to be in your inner circle.
Yeah.
I have a number of people who call me friends. I have
Mm-hmm.
very few people that I call friends. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not, you shouldn't be offended. You shouldn't, I'm okay with it. You should be too. Because my circle of influence is also pouring into my subconscious mind.
Yes, that's
So
true.
when you understand how powerful that is, then you get to be more picky. You can't
Mm-hmm.
have just anybody telling you who you are. You
Right.
can't be haphazard about, people creating your reality.
Mm-hmm.
So I want people in my circle who will most importantly tell me when I'm wrong. I know
Right.
when I could praise myself. I need people who will tell me, Sherian, you were wrong. Sherian, you're not seeing this situation clearly. Because it's those people who are going to help me to live a more authentic, transparent, more fulfilling life. So
Yeah.
your circle wisely, affirm yourself, positive thinking, and focus on the positives in people that you choose to be.
Mm-hmm. That last point is very important. The people that you have chosen to have around you, yeah, have made a commitment to. You have find the positive in them. That's very true. Frederick said, "It is so true. You cannot love what you do not know. Be intentional about what you said to you." And Jesus, Tishoy said, Jesus had 12 disciples, but only 3 were in his inner circles. That's very true. Very, very true. So one question that I have is, we say you have to know yourself. Okay, so how do I look myself in the mirror, and is that how I find my identity? How do I find this sense, the understanding, I guess, of who I am? How do I get to know myself? Because it seems like that's kind of an important steps. So I'm sure that there are a lot of layers, and there's a core to it. But again, how at home or different steps out there, that can help us to get to understand who we are.
Huh. That's such an amazing question, because everything in life is relational. Everything in life is about relationships.
Mm-hmm.
If you get relationships right on any level, you'll get relationships right on every level.
Mm-hmm.
Spiritual, professional, everything in life is relationship. If you want to truly know yourself, be courageous enough to have an authentic conversation with the person that is closest to you.
Okay.
And not a conversation where you're defending.
That's hard.
But again, it's worth it.
Yes.
It is so worth it.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to truly know, if you are married, the person to talk to is your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
Your best friend. And not in the loose way that we use, oh, that's my best friend. No. My best friend, Sydney, if it is raining outside and I'm out there in a sundress and you're seeing all my teeth, because I have big teeth, and I'm sparkly, and if Sydney tells you she's crying on the inside, believe her. She knows me more than I know myself. I know her more than she knows herself.
Mm-hmm.
So there's nothing that she can hide from me, and vice. So when I want to know about myself, I go there.
Okay.
And then it's also being gentle with yourself.
Have compassion for yourself. Something that I tell myself too.
Absolutely. Here is the thing. Why do children lie? Children lie when they feel unsafe.
Yeah.
When they feel threatened.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us, our greatest threat, our greatest enemy is ourself. We are gentle we are loving, we are passionate with everybody except ourselves. So it's difficult for you to be yourself with yourself because you're not safe.
That's true. Yeah.
You have to become a safe space for you.
Mm-hmm.
You have to understand that if you've been stuck in a dysfunctional cycle for 36, 34, 35, I think I was stuck in it for, well, my birthday was this week. And believe it or not, it was not until 5 o'clock that day that I realized I turned 38. I thought I'd turned 36. And my older son I was on the phone. He's like, you're not 36, you're 38. Shut up. Yes, so I digress, but you're not going to change 30, 40, 50 years of dysfunction in one day, one night, 1 year. You have to be gentle with yourself. Self-knowledge, self-awareness is a process. You have to give yourself permission and room to sometimes go back to who you were. Because once you start on that journey, you will not be comfortable in a space reflective of where you were.
That's true. That's true.
It will take time because especially for what felt like all my life, I felt like I had no voice. I would do things because I wanted to please other people, regardless of how I felt. I was so convinced that my needs were not important. It didn't matter. I would never speak up for myself. When I started on this journey, I had to learn to tone my volume down because I came out fighting. You were not gonna hurt me. You were not going to put me in any space that I felt my boundaries were being pushed. So I went from one extreme to another. I was gonna defend myself, stand up for myself, live my truth. And here I am, and I can't fight. Let me just put it like, don't pick a fight with me. I'm just gonna faint. I don't fight. I would fight anybody that challenged my right to my needs. I had to learn over time to turn it down.
But because isn't that still a reaction from a point of hurt? So you still had to, you were discovering. It's, you're discovering, and that's okay. And it's continuing the process and getting to heal. And it's not like you're toning down, denying yourself. It's just that you healed. You were healing yourself. So you went from now, oh, wait a minute, is that what I was doing? Well, no, never again. But people get stuck into that part.
Right.
People get stuck. I see a lot of people say, they're never gonna hurt me again. They're gonna take me for a fool again. Never. But we stay stuck into this part of the discovery, and then we don't get into the healing part, to where there is an understanding and a balance and a finesse to it, and to when there is enjoyment. We've got some comments. So, and okay, said never thought about bedtime affirmation. So you dropped some gems there. That's a good point, she said. And Frederick came back and said, wow, so sad that so many of us are not a safe space for ourselves. Yeah, be kind to yourself. But that's something that is learned, because society doesn't, we're just not taught that. And now, because it's not taught through generation, and that's part of your generational stopping that curse, reversing it. Now understanding from us, you understanding how to be kind to yourself. Now your children, you can teach them, and it goes on, and you can teach others, and the platform, the different things, and so that's really beautiful. Go ahead.
The power, the sweet spot with healing and this brain plasticity and understanding the power of the mind is when you get to that space of radical accountability. When you know that, for me, it was when I truly got to that space of, there is nothing that anyone, not my ex-husbands, not anybody I dated, there is nothing that they can say or do that can affect me. Why? Because I have removed them from the space of villains to the space of humans.
Yes.
You can only have a villain victim dynamic when there is a power differential.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So, but when you accept that I am responsible for everything that comes into my life,
Yes.
I then take back the power.
Yeah.
So I was in those relationships because, not because they were horrible people, because wrong for me doesn't mean wrong for somebody else.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And every relationship is different. We all have that transference, counter transference. People bring things out in us we didn't even know existed. We bring things out in people they didn't know that they had. But when we understand that there is no such thing in life as rejection, we either bring to ourselves or we repel from ourselves. So when we look at things through those lens, then
just say that again. There's no such thing as rejection.
We either bring to ourselves or we repel. Okay. And again, that's where self-awareness and working on ourselves. You know, I'll backtrack for a second. Like, as I see women and, oh, I'm waiting for a king. Well, first you have to learn to talk the royal dialect. You're not ready for a king. So if the Lord were to send you a king, who you would repel that person.
Yeah.
You are not in the space to receive what it is that you need. So, oh, I want true love, but you don't love yourself. You're going to repel love because you're not in a space of love.
Right. Yeah.
When I'm able to view things now, before, oh, my ex-husband, he was the most horrible person. Now he is my greatest blessing. It's because of him that I was able to start on the journey of self-healing and discovery.
Yeah.
So I am grateful for him. I'm grateful for the relationship I had with him. And I'm even more excited for my next relationship because now I am able to look forward to that relationship, because all it's going to be is an extension of who I am right now, because that's all relationships are. They're a reflection and an extension of where you are with yourself. So you cannot have a loving, peaceful relationship with others if you don't have one with yourself.
Yeah, I was listening to a talk this week, and somebody was saying she was identifying herself as a caregiver. So she, asked her, who are you? What are you? What is your identity? And she said, I am a caregiver. And at first I was like, well, then what's wrong with that? She cares. She gives, she helps others. But found out that, as she's talking, but she realized that she actually resents being a caregiver, because everybody comes to her asking her for stuff. She has to help everybody. She has to do everything for others. She ends up taking care of parents and in-laws and anybody that needs help come to her because she's the caregiver, and that's the identity that she's given herself. And sometimes when we attach a certain identity that is not really, is based on an action or a need to find some kind of value. Again, well, if I'm doing this, I'm the caregiver, so now people want me around, people will love me, people would, I'm important in their lives, but I'm not happy. And so there are different layers. We talked a lot about relationship, and for some it might say, well, I feel like, well, my marriage is okay. But on the other side, it might be the opposite. For you, the personal life you had to work on, and the professional life was okay. It might be the opposite for somebody else. I have a nice life at home, and then my professional life is an issue. Well, again, what has been the narrative? The narrative is what's important. Have you been telling yourself, well, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not smart enough, I'm not the kind of person that figures things out, or I just don't understand this lingo, when I'm reading these business documents, I don't know what this says, and so there are different hurdles that we put for ourselves based on the narrative. It sounds like that we tell ourselves, and that narrative is based from way back in childhood. Yeah.
it's interesting that that example that you just gave.
Mm-hmm.
I think for us who were raised in the church,
Mm-hmm.
women, we
Yeah.
can really identify with that.
Yeah.
Some of us can. I remember, again, my own journey, and I believe true wisdom is to master the space that you know, and the space that I know is my journey. So that's why I'm very transparent.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up, I was taught, I'm sorry, that a good woman is supposed to know how to cook. You're supposed to do all of these domestic things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I remember, again, cooking, doing laundry, cleaning the house, running a business. And I had my first child, and I'm like, I'm supposed to love this. I'm supposed to have a dress on, and he's supposed to come home, and I'm supposed to have dinner. But he's home. He's just laying in bed watching TV.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the only one running around. But again, because my narrative, my thinking was, if you're a woman, you're supposed to cook. You're supposed to clean. It's these things that we have been ingrained within us as you're supposed to do. You're supposed to do.
Yes.
We don't stop to think, well, what am I working for here? We are so programmed that we have to do to love.
Mm-hmm.
So we have such a confusion. That's why you have so many, again, miserable couples, because people are filling roles in which they are so miserable, but thinking that the only way the other person is going to love them is if they do.
Yes.
Well, then you get tired, and love becomes a place of rest.
Yeah.
And that is what love should be from the beginning. You don't do to get love. You're not because of. You know, you're not supposed to be loved in spite of either. There's so many dysfunctional.
That's so true.
He loves me in spite. No,
all of my flaws.
because in the face of true love, it's an awakening happens when you are in the presence of true love.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I want to be the best version of myself in the presence of true love. You know, so there's so many dysfunctional dichotomies and narratives that we are constantly being fed, that it boils down to intentional living. You need to get to a point where you are on an intentional pursuit of who you are.
Yes.
An intentional pursuit of the best version of yourself, because true success is also not compartmentalized. There's no such thing as, oh, I'm such a success here professionally, but I'm so chaotic over here. Success is holistic.
Holistic. That's right.
Holistic. It's alignment. It's walking in purpose. It's a validation of existence because I exist.
It's being.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's not doing. We get stuck on the doing, but it's about being. Yeah. So we are. It's been an hour, but I do want to just talk a little bit more about the intentional living and the alignment. Let's just touch on that point, and then we'll end.
Intentional living. There are days when I don't feel like getting up a half an hour before I need to meditate.
Right.
I do it because I realize that my feelings are the greatest enemy to my purpose. So I do things not because I feel like doing them. I do things because I have decided to do them. There is always a phase in our existence where our subconscious mind attacks the conscious mind. And that's what people talk about when they're like, oh, if you're going to exercise, stick with it for 6 weeks. And again, it's the habit that is formed. We all go through that phase where you don't feel, our feelings is the greatest enemy to our destiny and our purpose. So I'm intentional about setting the pace for my day.
Mhm.
I'm intentional about the way I interact with my children.
Mhm.
I'm intentional about the way I show up in not only every relationship, but every possibility of a relationship. Because I want to make sure that if, and it does not have to be romantic, it's business, social, I'm intentional about it.
Mhm.
I no longer feel like just because you want to be my friend is not reason enough for me to be your friend. Because you want to have a conversation with me right now, it's not
Right.
enough for me to have a conversation with you.
Mhm. Mhm.
Just because you want to, not reason enough.
Yeah.
Because too much, what is at risk is too great.
Mhm.
Get to a space in life, especially when you have been through an extreme situation where my peace is invaluable.
Right.
My space is sacred. All
Mhm.
around me is sacred ground.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I treat it as such. There are nights when I love hot chocolate and I would love to go back for a second cup or a third, but I'm like, no, I'm comfortable with myself at this weight.
Mhm.
So I'm not gonna do those simple things. I'm gonna exercise. I'm gonna do I'm intentional. There are
Mhm.
times when I don't want to read, but I know that our minds, if I'm not intentional about what I feed my mind, then
Mhm.
I'm leaving myself open to the influence of anything
Right.
and
Yeah.
everything.
Mhm.
So I limit television and I read a lot, 2 or more books per week.
Mhm.
And it's intentional living. If I'm going to have a conversation with you, it's intentional.
Mhm.
It puts you in a space where I'm not reactive.
Mhm.
Your drama is not mine. Your emergency is not mine.
Yeah. That's so true. Your emergency.
Yeah.
Now, for a lot of people, that because you get that call, can you help me? And it's like your emergency is not my emergency. How I choose to respond to the situation, is my choice. It's my choice based on what I'm able to do, of what is going on, what I'm willing to do, and all of those things matter. And that is a good point. It doesn't mean that you don't care, because sometimes we get that burden of, I have to, because again, I'm a caregiver, or because I'm just a caring, a good person, or a good Christian, or whatever. I must do this. If somebody calls on me, I must do it, and do it exactly as they ask me to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a choice. There is a choice. I posted this responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
Responsibility, your ability to respond. Your ability to respond, and your response is your choice. Your
Right.
ability, you can choose how you respond. And that really makes a difference. It really makes a difference. And all of that is again, to doing the work, discovering who you are, not being afraid to discover who you are. And like I said just about every morning, if you feel like it's way too scary, there is help out there. There are people who can guide you to discover who you are. And you can see an example right here. Successful, intelligent, 2 master's degree, working on a doctorate. How many businesses? Four businesses and a foundation. Working on more. It doesn't mean that you are weak. It doesn't mean that you know
Adequate.
and inadequate or anything like that. It just means that there is some strength in it. You have recognized that there's something that you don't know how to do, or you need certain guidance to do. You are recognizing that there is a work that needs to be done, and you are on this path, on this journey to rebuilding yourself, transforming yourself, strengthening yourself, empowering yourself. So it's not actually a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength, of power. You are empowering yourself. So don't be afraid, guys. Um, looking, being honest with yourself, with compassion, from a love perspective, being patient with yourself. But patience doesn't mean you excuses and not doing anything either. Because sometimes we say, well, when I a little patience, I'll have 2 more cookies today, maybe tomorrow. And we go on and on like that because we say, well, it's okay for this time. And we keep on going. The patience, the compassion, I should say compassion is having patience and the love. And so now, because you want to, maybe you don't know how you want to love yourself. Again, from this point of strength and this point of truth, you can start being intentional and being the best version of yourself, like you said, every day. Really, what's the best that you can do? It might not be, great, because it's not overnight, 30 years, and some, for others it's been 60 years. You work with the population, it's been 60, 70 years, and now you're at this point. Does it mean that you cannot change anymore? Does neuroplasticity stop at any point?
It doesn't.
It doesn't. It doesn't. At any point in your life, you can change your mind. If you have breath, you can change your mind. Yeah, yeah. That's beautiful. Any last thought? We didn't even talk about, what you do. And so let's give us kind of a synopsis of what you do. How can we connect with you if there are people, professional, who want to be part of your great organization or support your foundation and all of that? Just give us kind of a synopsis of that.
So I'll say, I can't even recall my main name on Facebook, but there's Renewed Senior Services. The foundation is called the Waite Foundation, and the entire premise is geriatric mental health. We will be having our first gala next February, and that will be leading to our first mission trip to Jamaica next summer, where we're going to do a brain health conference for a week or a weekend. I'm not quite sure as yet. We're going to be educating and discussing Alzheimer's, diabetes, caregiver issues. I plan to have a team of medical professionals with me. We're going to be doing some assessments, health checks, etc. But I think probably everyone that is on, you'll be able to find me on Facebook. Final thoughts for me is, and I know that we have a strong religious viewing. So I know a lot of times we hear about the power of the mind, the law of attraction, and we have this view that, oh, that's spiritualism, that's out there. And so I always want to end these things pulling from the Bible. And I'll throw out some verses that I want you to think on as we go through the week. Matthew 21:22. Therefore, I tell you, whatever you ask in prayer, believe that you have it. That is called manifestation feeling. It's saying, if I pray for health, I'm going to start acting healthy.
Yes.
If I pray for success, I'm going to start. In Jamaica, they say, dress for the part you want, not the part you have. It's the same thing. If I want love, I'm going to start what? Being love, acting as though I have love, I am love. Be whatever it is you are craving, praying for, believe that you have it. Act like you have it. And it's just a matter of time. Again, because the creative mind has no choice but to present a reality that the subconscious mind has accepted to be true. Matthew 7:7, ask and it will be given. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open. Philippians 4:8, whatever is noble, right, pure, lovely, admirable, excellent, praiseworthy, think on these things. So here the Bible is telling us again, the power of not just thought, but focus. Focus on those things that you think is important or that you want to see in your life. Proverbs 23:7, as a man thinketh, that is what he is. And the last two, we have Romans 12:2. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by what? The renewal of our mind. 1 Peter 1:13, therefore, preparing what? Your minds for action and being sober minded. Set your hope on fully on the grace that was brought to you through the revelation, of Jesus Christ. James 4:8, draw near to God, he will draw near to you. Cleanse your hands, you sinners. Purify your hearts, you double-minded. You cannot one day say, I'm successful, and then the next minute, okay, well, probably I'm not so successful. The subconscious mind has no sense of humor. It does not work in contradiction. Be focused on who and what you say you are. Think on those things and they will come to pass. The last one, Colossians 3:2, set your minds on things that are above. Whatever you focus on is what you become, is what you create.
That's so true. We again, from the religious standpoint, we read something sometimes, kind of brush over it, or don't understand, or don't even know how to apply, or how it is relevant, and it's right there. It's right there. But it is, again, there is a certain work, there is a certain intentionality in it. Beautiful. I don't have anything else to say. I think we did great. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Thank you for your transparency. Thank you for enlightening us, encouraging us to change, to look at our narrative, observe your narrative, bring it back to the conscious, bring it up to the conscious, I should say, and then let's transform our narrative for healing, for peace, for joy, for being. That was beautiful. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Yes, guys, if you're watching this later, if you have comments, if you have questions, if you want to be part of the gala, you want to continue, work with Sherian in any way, please put in the comments or send us a message. She's also tagged in this video. There is so much healing and so much love to have for everyone. It's out there for all of us, and it translates into every single aspect of your life. It's a holistic love, holistic healing. On that note, I will see you next time. You guys enjoy your week, enjoy your holiday, live well, and love.
Yes.